Are you nervous about your IELTS speaking test? I get it, it's a big deal. One of the things people stress about is understanding the examiner. What if you don't understand the question? Well, here's the good news. It's totally okay to ask for clarification. In fact, it can show confidence and good communication skills. Think about it. Even in your native language, you ask people to repeat themselves, right? It's totally natural. The IELTS examiner knows you're not a native speaker, and they're not trying to trick you. They want to hear you speak English confidently and naturally. Stick around to learn how to handle this situation like a pro. We're going to break down the why, the when, and the how, so you can walk into that exam room feeling cool, calm, and collected. Okay, first things first, let's clear up a big myth. Many test takers think asking for clarification will lower their score. They get nervous, they think it makes them look less confident. Guys, this is not true. IELTS examiners don't mark you down for clarifying a question. Why? Because in real-life conversations, it's normal to ask when you don't understand something, isn't it? It shows that you're engaged and want to respond accurately. And that's what the examiner cares about. Your ability to communicate effectively. Imagine you're having a conversation with a friend, and they say something you don't quite catch. Do you just nod along and pretend you understood? Probably not. You'd politely ask them to repeat themselves, right? It's the same with the IELTS speaking test. The examiner wants to hear you speak fluently and confidently. And sometimes that means asking for clarification to make sure you're on the same page. Don't let this myth hold you back. Asking for clarification shows that you're an active listener, you're engaged in the conversation, and you care about giving a clear and accurate response. Those are all good things. So, take a deep breath and remember, it's okay to ask. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. You've got this. Alright, so we've established that it's totally okay to ask for clarification. Now let's talk about when you should do it. Because, let's be real, you don't want to be asking the examiner to repeat every single question. Here are a few common situations where it's perfectly acceptable to ask for clarification. Number 1. If you didn't hear the question clearly, it happens. Maybe the examiner was speaking a little too fast, or maybe there was some background noise. For example, the examiner asks, describe a memorable trip, but you only catch the word trip. Don't panic. Just politely ask them to repeat the question. Number 2. If you don't understand a specific word or phrase, the IELTS uses a wide range of vocabulary, so it's natural that you might come across a word you're not familiar with. For example, the examiner says, "What's your stance on environmental conservation?" And you're unsure what means. Don't try to guess. Ask for clarification. And number 3, if you need time to process the question. Sometimes you might understand the question perfectly, but you need a moment to gather your thoughts. Asking for repetition buys you a moment to think. It's a great strategy, but don't overdo it. Remember, you only have a limited amount of time for the speaking test, so be mindful of how often you're asking for clarification. Use it strategically when you genuinely need it. This is where it gets good. Let's talk about how to ask for clarification politely and confidently, because how you ask is just as important as what you ask. First things first, keep it simple. You don't need to use complex grammar or vocabulary. A simple, "Could you please repeat that?" is perfectly fine. Now, if you didn't hear the question clearly, you can say something like, "I'm sorry, could you please repeat that?" Or, "Pardon me, I didn't catch that. Could you say it again?" If you don't understand a word or phrase, you can say, "Could you explain what you mean by word?" Or, "I'm not sure I understand, could you clarify?" And if you're unsure of the question in general, you can say, "Do you mean rephrase what you understood? Or can I confirm if you're asking about your understanding?" Remember, your tone matters. Stay calm and respectful, and it'll leave a great impression on the examiner. Don't get flustered, don't panic. Just take a breath, use one of these phrases, and you'll be good to go. You know what? It's actually a good idea to practice these phrases beforehand, so you feel confident using them during the test. Maybe even record yourself saying them so you can hear how you sound. So, there you have it. Asking for clarification isn't just okay, it's smart. Use these tips to handle tricky moments with confidence. You're not being annoying, you're being an effective communicator. Remember, the IELTS speaking test is about demonstrating your ability to communicate in English. And sometimes the best way to communicate effectively is to ask for clarification when you need it. Want more IELTS tips and tricks? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Best of luck on your test.